Hi everybody, I'm Butch Stearns and welcome into the latest edition of TPOT. That's The Pulse on Technology right here at the Pulse Network, thepulsenetwork.com. Again, my name is Butch Stearns. You know, in the world of technology, it affects all of us every single day as the latest gadgets, solutions, products, software continue to emerge. It's not about what they can do, it's about what they can do for you and for us. And that's what we're here to talk about. The latest technology, the trends, the things you need to do to keep you up to date with the latest in technology and what it can do for you and for your clients. So without further ado, let's kick off today's show. We go in the field. We also have our Voice of the People coming up later on. We've got some advice and some tips for you, but we start, as we always do, with headlines here on The Pulse on Technology. So in our headline segment here, we're going to hit three stories. We're actually, for accuracy's sake, going to hit four stories, but three different trends, if you will. And we start with one that's not new to any of us in the world of technology, but two related stories that hammer this point, both from Information Week, both from the hardware section, about tablets and about PCs and the trends that are going on in this. We talked about this on the Pulse on Marketing the other day, but here on the Pulse on Technology, article from Michael Endler in Information Week in the hardware section. Actually, Kyle, if you wanted to flip it, I wanted to start with the other one with the PC market first, because this is a survey that came out of the latest report released by IDC where the PC market has not hit rock bottom yet. This is what we talked about on the Pulse on Marketing the other day. Here's some of the stats, which again you know, but they're even more staggering, even more hemorrhaging, if you will, for the PC market than IDC originally predicted a while ago. This report was released on Tuesday, May 28th. Tablet sales are on a pace to outsell laptops now by the end of this year in 2013. Projected PC sales in 2013 were expected to drop, according to the IDC just a while ago, 1.3%. They now predict they will drop almost 8%. Projected PC sales in 2013. Now, as the article goes on to say, and Michael says, PCs still have their place, but the growth in sales will be driven in emerging markets. We'll get to that in a ZDNet story a little bit later on. A couple of other points made in this article in Information Week. PCs are not dead, but they'll just never be as central in our lives as they once were. And the final point is that tablet sales, according to the IDC in this report released on Tuesday, are expected to increase almost 60%. Let me say that again, 58.7%. According to the IDC, tablet sales are expected to increase in 2013, which leads us to the other article in Information Week in the hardware section. Here you go now, Kyle. I jumped the gun before. From Jeff Bertolucci, which gives you 10 tips in buying tablets and demystifying them, if you will. And the 10 tips, I'm just going to read the headlines on them. While you know some of them, they're pretty interesting. Choices of cellular versus Wi-Fi. Again, these are 10 tips on trying to buy a tablet and demystifying them, according to Jeff Bertolucci's article in Information Week in the hardware section. Cellular versus Wi-Fi, full Windows capability, expandable storage options, durability, enterprise-level apps, size and weight of a tablet, the cost, Microsoft Office compatibility questions that come up around it, USB 3.0, and bendable screens. Those are 10 tips. I highly recommend you reading this article because it talks about buying tablets and all the questions you might have had. And as again, if you look at the IDC study and you look at the survey that came out, the trends and numbers are even more exponential and staggering than we thought about how we're purchasing and using tablets and mobile devices, tablets specifically, compared to PCs. All right, our second trend and second story ties right into that. I mentioned it before. It's a ZDNet article, and it's by Michael Sharma, and it talks about where PCs are going to be bought and IT spenders other than the U.S. Emerging economies, according to Michael, will be the biggest spenders for PCs in particular, but for IT, bigger than the US. I'm going to read from the article where Michael says an impending economic and social windfall for emerging markets will power strong technology consumption that threatens to outpace the United States. According to the inaugural Growing in the E-Plus Markets study released Thursday by market advisory firm Zinoff, the 5 emerging economies that will grow, experience the strong demand for technology growth in the next coming years are India, Indonesia, Malaysia, the Philippines, and South Africa. The demand, according to Michael, is being driven by domestic and foreign investment, small and mid-sized business growth, SMB, and demographic dividend in the form of young workforce, as stated. Check out the Zinoff study that was released about growing in the e-markets and the effect on that. Our third headline has to do with Apple. Of course, we're always talking about Apple, but interestingly, Apple, which has not released a lot of different devices, but upgrades to almost every device they have. The iPod Touch. Do many of you still have the iPod Touch? I'm not sure why you do, because if you have an iPhone, you don't really need the iPod Touch. Yet, what they've done with the iPod Touch now is unveiled some new features. A 16 gigabyte storage, no back-facing camera, a cost of $229. So if you don't want the phone service, if you have an Android but you still want that Apple product, maybe you do want to buy an iPod Touch now. The cost is $229. It's an ultra slim design like the iPhone 5, a 4-inch Retina display, dual-core AS chip, and Apple EarPods. And from the article, there are a couple of things that are pointed out. This new iPod Touch falls in behind the existing 2012 models. I want to read a couple of statements from this article that came from Engadget, from Jamie Rigg. And Jamie says, we're hesitant to call this 6th generation as it's more of a stripped-down variant of what's already available. Not many of the specs have changed. The dimensions are identical. You're still getting a 4-inch Retina display. Same dual-core A5 processor hums away inside. While the new model still has the front-facing FaceTime HD camera, it's lost the 5 megapixel main shooter and a little bit of weight to boot. Storage capacity has taken a hit, however. The other iPod Touches come in at 32 gigs and 64 gig varieties and a number of colors, but this new model sports just a 16 gig of storage and only comes in silver. But again, it's $229. Retail locations getting it this week. We reckon this won't be, according to Jamie, the only Apple product people will be talking about today. Prepare for the cheaper iPhone rumor to make the rounds again, too. Is that going to be our voice of the people today, Kyle? Are we diving into that? Maybe. But that'll be coming up a little bit later on in the show. So those are our headlines talking about the trends of PC and the latest IDC survey that was put out, the Zinoff study that was released, talking about the tablets and how those numbers have gone exponentially through the roof, and also finally the latest with the iPod Touch.